It's been a long time coming, but we are finally just a day away from the grand opening of the First Americans Museum here in OKC.
Yeah, the museum tells the stories of generations of indigenous people from all 39 tribes in Oklahoma. And Oklahoma City Mayor David Holt joins us live from the museum. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor.
Hi, good afternoon.
So, Mayor Holt, you've already had a chance to tour the museum with your family last weekend. So tell folks, what can they expect when they arrive tomorrow?
Well, it's a world-class experience. Whatever you think is the gold standard of presentation, whether it's the Smithsonian or Disney, it's at that level. It's a $175 million facility, and it looks and feels like it. So I think that people are going to be blown away. I don't think they realize how awesome this is until they get here. So I'm really excited for the people of Oklahoma City to see it. I know they will be very proud of it, and then I can't wait for people around the country and really around the world to see it.
Okay, and you're just the person to answer this too. What is the city's role in the museum, financially speaking?
Sure. Well, this goes back 3 decades. This desire to tell the Native and Indigenous story to the world and to have that story be told here in Oklahoma City and have this destination in our state's capital. And it started with the city donating the land, so that was our first engagement in it. The state put a lot of money into it. The nation the federal government put a lot of money into it, and ultimately we came back and put about $9 million into it most recently. Private donors have put tens of millions of dollars into it as well, and the Chickasaws came in and helped close the gap at the end, as well as a lot of other tribes. So it took everybody, but the city certainly had a major piece in it, and now we're going to also own it and operate it in the years ahead.
You were mentioning about that it's really on the scale of a Disney World, that it's one of a kind, and not only educationally impacting the state, how is it going to impact the state in other ways? I know you guys are expecting so many folks to come and see this.
Yeah, obviously it's going to take a minute for the pandemic to subside, for international travel to resume. But once all that happens, you're going to have conventioneers choosing to come to Oklahoma City because of this major attraction. You're going to have people coming off the highways. We've been talking about it for 3 decades, the fact that this is at the confluence of I-35 and I-40. And then you're also going to have people traveling here from around the country and around the world just to see this. The Native American story is one that is, interesting to people everywhere around the globe. And there really is no other place like this. Lots of cities have great art museums. I think we have a great art museum, but I know that there's lots of great art museums in the world. There's really only 1 or 2 Native and Indigenous museums at this level. Our only competition, if you would call it that, might be the Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C., but we're the only one that's located in the actual state where 39 tribes are located. So I think that's going to be really, really exciting, really valuable as a tourist destination for visitors that come around the world.
Okay, lastly, if you can answer this one fairly quickly, we understand the plan is to make this its own district one day.
Well, I don't know a lot about that. It's definitely, obviously, got great synergy with everything else that's happening on the river. We've got just a little bit down the way, we have the Boathouse District. Of course, that's an Olympic training facility, recently hosted an international paddle competition. That's becoming a very interesting destination as well. And then, we've got Core to Shore building the park all the way to the river. All of this is starting to link things together. And of course, we've had now for the last decade our boats that take people all the way down to the Meridian Corridor. There's going to be a boat dock here at the First Americans Museum as well. So yeah, it's definitely playing into everything that's happening down here on the river. And it's not too far from downtown and Bricktown as well. And MAPS 4 is going to build more connectivity to Bricktown, paths, pedestrian bridge, other amenities along the way for people if they want to actually make the journey on foot.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask you as well, as you mentioned that you got the chance to tour it, you've been waiting to see this like so many Oklahomans for, as we mentioned, decades.
Yeah.
What was it like to finally see it come to fruition, to be able to step through the doors?
Yeah, it's surreal to think it's really here, and because most people, including me, have really only ever seen it from the highway. I've been over here, half a dozen times over the last 3 years, but most of our residents have never been here at all. And so this is a part of town they've never seen. It just feels interesting and weird kind of to come here and think that this amazing amenity is now open to you. But I think the other thing that's obviously more important is it's a very impactful experience. You know, I've talked about that already, about how well it is presented. But what I mean by that is it's state of the art. I mean, the immersion of the video displays is really incredible. The way it's told chronologically is very accessible to everybody, I think. But it's also told with heart. It's very warm, you know. It's clearly a story being told by Native Americans, by indigenous people. It's for everybody to consume, but it is definitely a story not being told just by clinical museum professionals. You know, it really feels warm. For one example, there's this part of it where you get into a van and you go and visit powwows all across Oklahoma, and it's just really well done, and it's kind of modern modern Native life, and I just think it makes you feel a part of the Native community of Oklahoma and today's Native community. And that's kind of the experience that people are having with shows like Reservation Dogs and all that. You know, we're kind of having a moment for, I think, Native culture, and this certainly captures that. It's about Native history, sure, but it's also very much about modern Native life as well.
You get to step into the museum and step into their culture. Mayor David Holt, we appreciate your insight into this exciting time.